I'd started to do a lot of stuff with georgemichael because I'd worked with him when they were in Wham, and then I started doing stuff off the Faith album, like Faith and Father Figure and stuff like that. And you know, so my career in America kind of went, you know, quite high trajectory at that point. And Axl had seen, from Guns N' Roses, had seen a video I did for George called Father Figure, which doesn't have any singing performance in it. It's just like a cinematic kind of, mini movie. And he really liked that. And he had like a trilogy of 3 huge songs, one called Don't Cry, one called November 8, one called Estranged, and they're all kind of supposed to be interconnected. And November Rain just became the one that just went through the roof, basically. And it's now, even now, has still going up on YouTube. It's done 1.9 billion views, which is bonkers. So it'll hit 2 billion at some point. But yeah, it's just one of those videos. It's kind of right time, right place, right band, right song. Huge stuff.
What year was that filmed in?
91.
91.
And released in, and then released in 92. So it's, this year is actually the 30-year anniversary. You know, I've had interviews from LA Times, Vice magazine, loads of podcasts. I mean, it's a video that keeps on giving. Because they were such a great band then, but they're kind of back out there now after, you know, not doing anything much for 20 years. So I think there's an interest in them because they're a huge popular rock and roll band anyway. But it's just become this kind of mythical video because there's lots of unanswered questions in it, and we did that deliberately. We did it in a way that had flashbacks, flash forwards. You were playing with, you know, linear time, so it wasn't just A to Z, you know what I mean, or Z as they say in America. It was kind of jigsawed together in a way that made you more intrigued by what happened. So it felt like a microcosm of a much bigger story. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And intertwined with that is some great performance of the band, and the Slash solo week comes out of a little church in the middle of nowhere and plays this huge kind of rock and roll solo. Has become a kind of iconic moment in music video history as well. So I get asked more about that, I think, than anything else.
I was just about to say, what is the question that people want to know the most?
A lot of people want to know how. I mean, his girlfriend at the time, who's in the video, is Stephanie Seymour, who was like, you know, on the cusp of supermodel status. So they were a celebrity couple, and she kind of, you see them getting married, but you also see her in an open coffin, and which has got a mirror halfway down her face. So people go, why has she got a mirror halfway down her face? And I'm not, you know, we've never revealed why, but you know, the theories are, you know, did he shoot half her face off? So what we were doing was just playing with people, really. So, you know, I get students sending me stuff from, you know, unis and art colleges and stuff, film colleges, saying, you know, thinking they figured it all out. You know, can you confirm that this is why this looks like this? You know, because we've analysed the video, and I will write back and go, no, you got it all wrong. But that's why I think that's why people are still intrigued by it now.
Yeah, I love that. With art as well, it's like so open to your own interpretation and feelings, but I like that you're not confirming anything. You're leaving it for everyone to have their own personal experience.
That's kind of, I think that's half the fun of it, really. Yeah. And the more people ask, the less I'm going to tell them. So I'll tell them how it came about. I'll tell them where we filmed. I'll tell them what it was like to do the video. But the narrative is an open book.
And working with George, how was that?
It was funny because I kind of, working with George was great. I mean, I got the tail end of Wham, so he was still kind of in a boy band, and it was mad kind of, you know, screaming girls outside the office and stuff like that. And he was one of the most confident people I've ever met in my life. I mean, so confident of his own ability, of himself and what he was going to do. And then I was in that whole transition period with him where he kind of got more serious and did that solo album Faith, and suddenly, you know, all the kind of blonde hair had gone, and it was, you know, half-shaven beard and leather jackets and all that kind of Elvis, icon kind of look that he kind of repackaged for himself. And that just took off in America. It was huge. It was huge in America. All those, the first video off the album was I Want Your Sex. Second one was Faith. Third one was Father Figure. And we won a bunch of MTV awards and stuff like that. So that really got me cracking in the US, as they say.
I like that.
This kind of frozen smile.
Meeting George for an instant would be something you would never forget. So working with him, being in his presence, I bet it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. You know, and collaborative. You know, he never told me what to do, but he enjoyed the collaboration, and we'd figure out stuff we would, you know, he liked doing and I liked to do, and you know, we'd find a happy kind of medium. Well, mostly happy. Sometimes he wasn't happy, but sometimes he was extremely happy. Yeah, I mean, you know, stars like that can have their moments, and it's not necessarily to do with the work he was doing with me, but you know, he had so many pressures from other people and managers and record companies. You know, sometimes he'd forget, and we'd decided something and then said, "Why are we doing this?" I said, "Well, we chatted about it." "Oh yeah, okay, fine." Whatever. But you know, he was very, very talented, and he was one of those first, that not first, he was one of those, that generation, like there was Madonna, George Michael, Prince, Michael Jackson, that really got MTV, because MTV at that time wasn't like loads of reality shows, which it is now. It was wall-to-wall music videos, and all those artists really embraced music video, the whole music video kind of scene, and realized how important it was to marketing their records and marketing them and putting their brand, as it were, out there. Do you see what I mean? So, you know, he was very smart like that. You know, in some ways he was smarter than the record companies that he was signed to, because he was way ahead of the game. Kind of, he never said, "Oh, I love playing live," because he'd always moan about touring and stuff like that. But when he was on stage, he was electric. He was absolutely electric. And I saw him live. Yeah, but I saw him live on end of the Wham days, when George Michael was, you know, the top thing. And then later on when he was doing Symphonia, when he was playing with an orchestra and stuff like that. I mean, I saw every aspect of his performance style as well. So that was pretty fun. And I filmed some of it too. And yes, got other movies, a couple of TV drama series that I've been developing are going into full-on development now, and script writing and stuff like that. And yeah, just doing my thing as a director, really. And, you know, now I co-write and I write my own stuff as well. So yeah, it's a side I really enjoy, because you can really shape a project, you can really shape a story and set the whole tone, narrative, you know, exactly the way you want it. So when you come to direct it, you've been thinking about it all the time. You're not interpreting somebody else's idea or words, you're interpreting your own. So you kind of live with it, and, you know, and want to bring it to life. So that's why I love the writing side of it now too.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, having something and just putting your own spin on it, your own little mark on it.
It's a funny thing. Some things happen very fast, and it's such a whirlwind, you don't know how it happened. And then some things take forever. And I, you know, if I could bottle it, I'd, you know, the bottle that whole magic of why things happen and why they don't, then I'd be doing a lot more than I do. No, I mean, I'd be filming a lot more than I do, but you know, the kind of projects I want to do and means that I have to wait for the ones that I want to do rather than just be like a TV director and just, you know, shoot episodes. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I want my films to have a message, to have a kind of, you know, a kind of an appeal to particular demographics and people and stuff like that. So yeah, that's important to me. So yeah, as I say, sometimes things happen really quick, sometimes it happens really slow. I always try and keep, you know, one can write a script and one can imagine people talking and saying the things you've written, but sometimes you have to kind of just talk it out or rehearse it, but also you've got to be flexible, you've got to be fluid about things. But one of the co-writer, but you know, he has a very set vision of how he sees people saying the words, and I think he would get very frustrated when I go, nah, I don't know like that line. Let's take that one out. No, she'd never say that. He never say that. You know, it works better now as it's shorter. You know what I mean? And you've got to be like that because that's my years of experience. I think, you know, that if you can keep things fluid and flexible, then they feel more spontaneous when you're doing it.
That's it.
My job also as director is to sometimes say no, we're not going to change that because you know, that's exactly what I want the scene to say. So I think you have to give your actors some rope and you have to give them some flexibility, but sometimes you have to shut the door on them, and not because you don't like their ideas or whatever, but sometimes it's towards the end of the day and you've got to shoot how many scenes, and you know, you kind of take a mean average of what you need to do to get things done. But you know, but in those moments where you can kind of create some kind of flexibility and a bit of improv, then it can often, you know, work magic. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to keep your eyes and ears open to those opportunities. But I also think as a director, you need to be decisive as well. You need to sometimes you can try something and it doesn't work. So then you have to go, that doesn't work. Let's do something else. Well, you always learn something new. I learned something new when I'm working with actors. And what I liked about Boogieman was there was a really great kind of ensemble of young actors. And everyone got on really well and everyone was having fun with it. And, you know, I had more angst from the production side of things than I did from the actors. And often people say, oh, you were lucky. It's often the other way around. No, I was really lucky with the actors and actresses or whatever. They call them all actors now, don't they? I was much lucky with the actors. I had more fights with production, and there were more egos in the production side of things than there was in front of camera, which is a bit bizarre, but there you go.
All going for the same goal. Every day so excited. Like a family, be a team to make it the best it can be, because that's what is important. It's not about each individual person, it's about the whole thing together.
I will always strive in my next projects to, as you say, keep that family togetherness thing, you know, work hard on that initially, because if you let it get out of control, it can be very destructive. I don't like that.
No, you were always amazing to everybody, and I think you did your best for everybody as well.
It was challenging, yes. But then again, you know, it was my idea for the film, it was my vision of the film. So, you know, I was like someone with blinkers on, look, you know, it's like this, I'm not going to listen to that bullshit. I'm just going to get on with what I know is going to work. And it's a fun film, you know, people watch that film. It did really well in festivals. Fortunately, the producers kind of screwed up the distribution, but, you know, in terms of cinemas, but, you know, we got into Sky, you know, Sky Movie Channel and Amazon Prime and stuff like that. So, you know, in the end, it washed its face, as they say. But, you know, one of the biggest things for me is when I, you know, would sit in, like we did in, not just in London, but in Leicester, when I went up to that thing with you, and you can just see people going, oh, I quite like this. Oh, yeah, this is fun. Oh, and they laugh in the right places and they like the dancing and they like the music. And then they come out there and they go, God, I really enjoyed that film. And that's, for me, is one of the greatest things we did on that film. You know, I think it's a really good feel-good movie. The characters are great.
The music in it was wonderful.
It was kind of rooted in that period. You know what I mean? Where, you know, that kind of disco era, you know, but there's early disco and there's mid disco and there's late disco. So you kind of have to keep it in, you know, with my music supervisor, which we worked on it before the film, you know, we kept it in quite a tight little envelope of dates. So it was, you know, it had an element of being accurate, not just any old disco song. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and there are personal favorites in there of mine anyway, because I was a young teenager when a lot of those records out. Even though I wasn't particularly into disco, it was my kind of guilty pleasure. I was into heavy rock and metal, but, you know, I'd hear kind of soul track, you know, like Rock Me Baby or whatever on the radio. I'm like, oh yeah, that is ace. Do you know what I mean? And so it all kind of, you know, all my suppressed disco mania kind of came screaming out in that movie. But also you find little gems, you know, that first disco scene where Dance Across the Floor, that track, that wasn't a big disco hit back in the day. It was a very obscure kind of minor kind of record, and my music supervisor sent me a whole lot of stuff and I heard that and it was just like and it was produced by KC and Sunshine Band, you know, or KC from the Sunshine Band, who were fantastic kind of pop, right, you know, disco writers. And it's like a hidden gem. No one had really heard that song for years and years and years. It wasn't like an ABBA tune, or it wasn't like a KC tune or whatever. It was, and you find these gems and you think, you know, that kind of made that scene when you Kush are dancing kind of for the first time in his mind and his fantasy.
It was such a joy, everything about it, morning till night, every single day.
I'm glad you had such a good time.
I did, of course. Is the soundtrack available for people to buy?
I don't think it's. I don't think it came out as a soundtrack album. It should have done, but again, that's something the producers screwed up. But people can buy the tracks individually from you know, if they know what they are. If you see what I mean. Yeah. I should probably publish a list, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Or create a playlist, Boogieman playlist on Spotify, and then if people want it, we can send out links.
Yeah, exactly, definitely, because it's such a good sound.
Would be a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for the idea. Let me go with it. Yeah, I mean, you got to follow your heart. You know, if you believe in what you're doing, whether it's acting or directing or producing or art department or costume, you believe in yourself and your vision. You just, you know, it's really tough. It's very competitive. It's very tough, but it's like a village. Once you get the keys to the village, you know, it can be fulfilling for life. You know, the job for life. You know, I mean, the moment there's so much work for crew because there's so much stuff being made here, films and Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that. And so for crew, it's kind of easy. If you're an actor or a director, it's very competitive, but you just got to believe in yourself and keep going to auditions or doing short films and little parts in things, just, you know, just till you build up a decent resume, and hopefully then the parts will get better, bigger, and all that kind of stuff. So it's tough. You know, I don't know anyone who hasn't gone into this business who hasn't had to, you know, do a comparative job like waitressing or driving or bike deliveries or whatever they do. But I mean, you know, Harrison Ford was a carpenter for years in LA before he got big movie parts. So, you know, that's just, I think that's par for the course. You know, we don't do 9 to 5 jobs. You know, we don't get an automatic pension or PAYE taken off you. You know, we have to work, and it's freelance, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's tough. So, you know, people fall out of the business, but I think if you're really talented and you really believe in yourself, you keep going till the levee breaks.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, And oh, well, look, thank you so much for today. It's so interesting.
Excellent. All right, have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
And thanks for interviewing me.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, speak.
God bless you, Andy. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, and you.